We are now joined by the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Minister Ronald Lamola, coming to us live from Davos. Minister, when South Africa had first involved itself as an interlocutor in the conflict ongoing, it had first, before going to court, asked for a ceasefire deal to be negotiated and asked for de-escalation to be the priority. Well, that failed at the time, and South Africa was left with no option but to go to court. You were the Minister of Justice and were appointed a team to prepare the necessary papers. What's your reflection on today's unfolding, especially given that the case that South Africa brought before the International Court of Justice is an ongoing case?
Thank you very much. Firstly, we welcome the ceasefire agreement between Hamas, the State of Israel, and all the interlocutors and the role players that made it possible. This has been the call of South Africa from the beginning, of a ceasefire, of de-escalation, of taking a path towards a two-state solution for both countries. And we see this as a step towards that direction. It is rather 15 months later where we could not have seen such a huge amount of people that have been killed by the Israeli forces if the call had been heeded earlier. But it's an important step that we welcome, and we see it as a step that must lead towards a just solution to the problem in line with the UN resolution, and also that will lead to long-term peace for both the countries, in Israel and Palestine.
Given now that a ceasefire has been negotiated and is operationalized over the next 6 weeks, we'll see whether or not both parties participate in it with great earnest, particularly Israel, which carries the greatest amount of, let's call it collateral on the one hand, given the sheer amount of prisoners. They have 1,900 prisoners that they have to release over the next 6 weeks. Are you monitoring this from a perspective of potentially altering the case before the International Court of Justice, perhaps even as having been requested by many states, such as the United States, to potentially even withdraw the case so that political negotiations can be ongoing? Or is the question of genocide an existential question that remains regardless of the earnestness of the ceasefire?
Yeah, as you will remember, that the reason we went to court was to request for a ceasefire, was also some of the provisional measures related to an investigation on the plausibility of a ceasefire, of a genocide, the plausibility of a genocide. And the court found that indeed there is plausible genocide, which remains on the table. As you are aware, the case relates now to the merits, is still in court. And we are now for provisional measures. We went to court 4 times, and we got a judgment in line with our request, particularly for a ceasefire, for investigation on the plausible genocide, for humanitarian access. All those remains important that they are complied with by the state of Israel and Hamas, and also that there is an implementation of the humanitarian, the release of prisoners from both sides. We welcome the fact that some of those measures will now be implemented through this agreement. But we have not yet reached a stage where we can conclude that the case on the merits must be withdrawn, because as you are aware, on the merits of the case, the plausible genocide has already been committed in the last 15 months. So there must still be justice.
Yeah. When you went to court the first time around and the court found in favor of South Africa, that is to say the court had ordered in the provisional measures that as a matter of immediacy, Israel has to withdraw the troops from all Palestinian territories. That's the ceasefire on the one hand. And 2, make sure that humanitarian aid passes through, particularly across the Rafah border, which seemingly didn't happen as the court had ordered. You went back to court the second time around, and that was effectively to ask for additional provisional measures, right? And those additional provisional measures included a question on whether or not Israel had been on contempt of the first provisional measures or the first set of orders that were given to it. That changes materially today, does it not?
Yeah, it changes in relations to the question of the ceasefire, which the parties have now agreed upon, because you will remember that even in all our engagements in public, in the UN Security Council, even at the court itself, we have always said that the solution is political. There must be political solution. The parties must continue to negotiate, to engage, in particular to find a long-term solution with regards to the cessation of hostilities, with regards to the two-state solution. But with regards to justice on the plausibility of genocide, that remains a question that the court will still have to see justice through the court processes.
Yeah. Look, and I think that what this process has taught us all around the world is that multilateralism is fragile at the moment. You're live in Davos at the moment, where the World Economic Forum is gathering once again in Switzerland. At the top of the agenda is the question around global peace and security in a fractious world, where we have to talk about conflict and conflict management. And of course, that means to answer the question, what is the state of global multilateralism as it is today? What will be your contributions to these considerations, Minister?
Yes, indeed, we will continue to place the global multilateralism at the center of resolving global challenges, whether financially, as we are dealing with here in Davos, the economic of the world, and also the issues of the G20 that we will place at a high pedestal here as South Africa, as we will be hosting. Our president will have a huge, unique opportunity to speak at the plenary as in the platform of the World Economic Forum, which will further outline the agenda of South Africa on the G20 and our position with regards to the prime importance of multilateralism in geopolitics, in the economic landscape, also in the transformation of the global financial architecture, including issues that must respond to the challenges of the continent and the global south, particularly on climate change, climate financing. So all those issues, indeed, it is for the reason we are here continuing to participate, because we believe in multilateral forum playing a very important role in shaping a just world.
Yeah, Minister Lamola, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it, and all the best in cold Davos in Switzerland, where you'll be participating this week. Let's take you to this now. Yeah, thank you, Minister.